data-led leadership coaching. Why did I call this session this way? This is because if you look at what is the present of leadership development, we mostly, everywhere, even in the most sophisticated companies, base it on psychometric data. So all these MBTI and other psychographic profiles. And we complement that with the experience and the know-how and the great people hands of professional coaches. So this is something which has transformed a lot of organizations. And when we look into the future, we try to think of how this impact can be further expanded. So we as an organization have only one focus in mind: how can the impact of leadership coaching can be broadened and broadened and broadened. So there are three ways that I'm going to take you through this process. The first is going to the highest level of sophistication in data, which is real-time neurological data, which is used in neuroscience research. The kind of insights that have come out of this in the past 10 to 20 years are amazing and now give us the confidence to design leadership development programs in a completely different way. After this, I'll take you into the present. And the present is that self-coaching is now possible based on all this research, plus live, declarative, dynamic, attitudinal data. And if you do self-coaching, you are not constrained anymore by a number of professional coaches for which you have to curate the quality and the fitment of profile to your organization. You can just deploy as wide as you want. And then I'll take you very briefly into the future, which is leveraging real-time physiological data, which might be coming from wearables or from smartphones or from other devices, and which will inform a couple of years down the line leadership development programs. So I told you I would first dive into live neurological data. So I'm going to take you through 5 different insights that have emerged in the last 10 to 12 years. The first one is on confidence. Adam Kepex he's a neurologist, and he studies the neural basis for decision making. So what he has done with his team, they created an experiment with rats, and they put these rats in a certain room with a configuration like a maze. And when there was a certain signal, a very high value reward was usually, but not always, given to these rats at a certain corner of that complex room. And depending on the groups of rats, the frequency of getting that very high reward, and very high reward would be an ingredient that rats love, for instance, coconut. And the frequency would vary for different cohorts of rats. And then what they did is, after a couple of weeks of exposing these rats to this experiment, they said, okay, now let's look, when we give that sound signal that the reward might be coming, let's look at how many rats are going to go towards the high value reward place, and how many will go towards the low value reward place. Because I forgot to mention, there's a low value reward corner in which, with 100% certainty, they are given another ingredient which they like, but which they don't like as much as the other one. So what they predicted was that based on their past experience on the frequency of getting that particular high reward, they would have a certain probability of choosing that path, the risky but higher reward path. And that's exactly what happened. So what we see here in this experiment, if we try to project it to humans, and suppose humans behave the same way, we are going to be able to take risks and take high reward, high risk paths only if in the past we have had success taking similar decisions. When you design a leadership development program, taking these insights into account, you can say, no, I'm going to make sure that my leaders in areas where they haven't been taking too many risks in the past, I'm going to make them experience success. And it might be through exercises, it might be through getting help from colleagues on real business assignments. I'm going to help them experience success, because that will help them in the future take these riskier paths. It's just neural computing. The brain automatically is wired this way. Another interesting finding is on stress. So Boudarin he's a researcher from Paris Medical School. He wanted to understand the different ways individuals are able to respond to stress. So he took a cohort of patients from his hospital, and he made them watch a stressful video, and a rather long stressful video, something like 40 minutes. And what he observed is that whatever the profile of that person, high stress or low stress, there would be an initial kick in adrenaline in the first 1 or 2 minutes of watching the video. That's something we all experience. Adrenaline is a energy improver, fight or flight reflex, and it's a performance enhancer, and we all need it. And afterwards, you have two parts. You have one part where some individuals will experience an increase in cortisol levels. And so that's a hormone. And that hormone basically makes you, creates a durable effect of stress. And the body is not able to experience the mind is not able to experience some of the states like open-mindedness, curiosity, empathy. For some other subjects, there's a hormone called DHEA, which will kick in and which will, so to say, annihilate the levels of cortisol. And for those patients, level of stress reduces drastically, and the ability to be relaxed, to have empathy, to be curious, improves a lot. So basically, it's all about which hormone is going to kick in after that initial plateau of adrenaline is reached. So that was his finding. So based on this finding, there's a team from Yale 4 years ago which researched how can this DHEA level be enhanced. So they didn't find a definitive answer to that question, but they found one interesting way of getting that DHEA level to kick in. What they found is that the subjects who verbally formulate that the stress they are experiencing is useful and can help them deal with this situation and is part of life, those people who are making this statement are experiencing that increase in DHA and the stress levels go down. If you develop a program, a leadership program, you can absolutely take this into account and have conversations on stress. You can say, instead of trying to remove stress from the organization, and let's all have conversations on how stressed we are, we want to all remove this stress, that is just going to increase the stress levels dramatically. If we all have discussions, let's say every month we have a stress workshop in which we talk about how stress has enabled us to deal with certain challenges, actually the stress levels and the confidence levels increase. This is a leadership coach, Michael Chaskason, in the UK. He was an entrepreneur before, and he worked with a team of neuroscientists to figure out what the impact of mindfulness meditation was. And they found out across a cohort of 57 people and at the end of the program, which lasted for 3 months, they did a lot of neurological measurements. And what they found is that the single most determining factor in mindfulness meditation impacting performance and behaviors of these people was whether they were meditating more than 10 minutes a day or less than 10 minutes a day. So that finding is very, very important because it's just basically, it's not about quantity, it's about regularity. Then they looked at what are the mental functions which get enhanced for these people who typically meditate for more than 10 minutes a day. So they found 3 mental functions. The first one is curiosity. The second one is acceptance of what is realism. And the fourth one is metacognition. And metacognition is my ability to cognite about myself. My ability to understand my stress level, my ability to understand if I'm being authentic, if I'm being positive. So that is greatly enhanced. So again, if you want to take that insight and if you want to weave it into a program, you will say, what are the type of people in our organization for whom curiosity and realism, acceptance of reality, and metacognition, self-criticism, self-reflection matter the most? And your answer might be, it's for my R&D team, for instance. So those guys are the ones who will need it the most. And maybe your sales or business development team will need it the least. It might still impact them, but you can get order of priority. Another very, very well-known researcher, this gentleman, Richard Boyatzis, he's the inventor of the iceberg model. So the iceberg model is basically this image which we see in a lot of leadership presentations. At least at McKinsey, we used to present it at all the clients we were talking to, where you basically have your behaviors and you have your actions, which are the tip of the iceberg. And below your actions, you've got your behaviors, and below your behaviors, you've got your mindset. So if you want to, and below that, you've got the beliefs. So if you want to really change the actions in the company, you need to change all of this, and then you will have a chain reaction. So you need to change to the level of beliefs. So what he looked at is, in his recent research from 3 or 4 years ago, he looked at what is the impact of resonant leaders, basically leaders who have empathy and who are able to understand and to rephrase what their counterpart is talking about. So they again did a lot of measurement based on role plays. So they had about 100 pairs of leader-junior interactions, senior-junior interactions. And these people had to solve complex business problems. And what they found was that in the case of leaders, basically senior team members who were more resonant, more empathetic, the more junior person would have the mirror neural networks much more fired up. And these are basically the neurons which make you smile if I smile. Thank you. And so basically, so listening triggers listening. Empathy triggers empathy. So these are viral mechanisms. That's the formula of the study. If you want to create an organization which is more empathetic, you can start working at the top and create that empathy, and it should trickle down. Empathy will trigger empathy at all the levels of the organization if you work on it consistently. The last neuroscience piece I want to talk about is from Robert Thatcher, who basically look at that, what is charismatic leadership. And from a neurological standpoint, charismatic leaders are the ones who have the visioning part of the brain which is more active. Again, this is very important because if you want your high potential cohort, for instance, to get prepared for leading larger organizations, larger business units, larger teams, they will need to have that charisma. So how about getting them to spend a lot of time visualizing, maybe writing, or even painting and drawing what they see as the future for that company, for that division, for that team. So now if you take all of this together, if you take 20 years of research in positive psychology, behavioral sciences, in neurosciences, you can do various types of regression, and you can come up with various frameworks. This is our framework of what sources of energy drive leadership success the most. So what we found, and this is not made by me, this is made by co-founder of Potential Life, Tal Ben-Shahar, who is a well-known figure in positive psychology. He was teaching that at Harvard. So what he created for Potential Life is this framework, which is basically a statistical regression. So strengths. Strengths is basically the confidence state, right? The more I do things I am good at, the more I'm confident, and my performance automatically is better. Health. So health is all about how I manage my energy levels. So if I manage, this is the discussion on stress. If I manage to keep my stress level to the place where I have this adrenaline, but I don't have the cortisol which paralyzes me, this is high energy. This is health. This is the health that a corporate leader requires. If I look at absorption, how do I get to be in a situation of flow? How do I remain in the zone? And how do I make sure that I manage to keep this uninterrupted? And that's probably where this mindfulness practice, if I want to practice it, will be very useful. I might manage to keep it for 20 minutes instead of 10 minutes. And maybe I'm going to even take some actions like controlling the way notifications come on my smartphone. So last week I deactivated all the notifications from my iPhone. And guess what? I actually get much longer uninterrupted zones of concentration. And I choose when I'm going to go and look at my messages. And it can be equally powerful as doing 6 months of mindfulness training, by the way. Relationships. How do we move from a point of looking at relationships for a certain business outcome, which is actually a short-term view, based on the influence model which was ideated in the 70s, towards a situation where we try to forge relationships for the long term, based on authenticity. Only if I am authentic, if I'm really myself, are you going to trust me? And based on positivity. Only if I manage to be positive, even the day you are late to our meeting, will you actually find my company pleasant enough to actually come and meet me again? And then purpose. And purpose is not the purpose of your organization. Purpose is your purpose. Purpose is what you want, what you think is your mission in life. And it can change every year. You could decide every year between Christmas and New Year to rewrite your purpose, and probably it would evolve from year to year. But it's very important to know where your Northern Star is right now, because that enables you to place and position your organizational purpose within your constellation. And then you are actually much more useful to your organization. Now let's look practically at how all of us place ourselves on some of these questions. Do you feel competent and passionate about talent analytics? So if all of you could, on Slido, answer this question, that we can take a few seconds. I'd be curious to know. And if this is something which you are good at and which you are passionate about, then it's called peak potential zone. And probably you are feeling good being in this space and being in this conference. So we've got 5 votes. That's not a lot. I've seen many more phones than votes. But broadly speaking, it's like when we count votes in UP and Punjab, right? Even before getting all the votes, you kind of get a sense of where things are going. There might even be a herd effect, right? Where everyone sees, oh, the rest of the room is competent and passionate about talent analytics. Let me also be competent and passionate. So, I think we can conclude that this is something we feel good about, and that's probably why we're here in this conference. So, if this is something that you feel good about because you're good at it and because you feel passionate about it, can you reframe your work to maybe spend 1.5 times more time or twice as much time as you used to be on talent analytics. Could all of us do that in this room? And let's think about by how much that would enhance our performance. And it's not about radically changing our roles, right? It's like a small change, but a small change that actually is going to stick because it's something that we enjoy doing. Question 2 is, this week, how many times have you allowed yourself a voluntary moment of recovery? And it can be listening to a song to reduce stress, right? Or calling a friend to reduce stress, or taking a deep breath. Anything you would have done this week with awareness of, I'm being a little stressed out, I want to feel better, I want to give myself this gift of feeling better. Yes, okay, so many of you have done that twice this week. And a few of you, a significant portion of you have done it 5 times. And the minority has not done it at all. Great, so, but again here, it's very, very powerful. These are very powerful moments. Because these very, very short moments of recovery can get us going for the next 2 hours or for the rest of the day. So I'm going to take a deep breath. So question 3 is, how many times have you checked your smartphone since the beginning of this session? Apart from studying. I'm not going to take it as a judgment on my performance as a speaker, so please be authentic.
More than 5 is not there.
Okay, so I think we don't need to wait until the end of the vote count. This is a unanimous vote for 5. But did you really need to check it 5 times? Right? Are you really in such a high-paced kind of, operations on shares trading desks or forex trading desks, and you're trying to close deals with the insurance companies worth $50 billion? I don't think so. Anyway, let's look at the data we collect as an organization with all of our participants. Here it's very interesting because when I'm going to look at each of these percentage numbers, I'm going to look at what's the ratio between that number in orange and 100. So for instance, we typically spend a participant in a potential life program in week 1 of the program, so he's not been impacted by the journey at all, spends approximately 50% of his or her time doing things he or she is good at. But what I look at is that it could be twice as much. And maybe we won't reach 100, but we can definitely reach 80 or 90 if we are already at 50. So here I look at the ratio, at the multiplier, and let's say this is 2x. And likewise, how much of my time do I spend feeling energized as opposed to depleted? And 50%, it makes sense to me. It's a mix. It's a mix of highly energizing moments like this, and maybe depletion moments, which might be when I'm at the end of the day at the taxi on the way to the airport and I have to do a conference call at the same time. There's potential to improve it. Let's put it another 2x. Then I look at absorption, and I think the vote on how many times we all have checked our smartphones in the past 20 minutes gives us a good hint at the fairly meager amount of focus and absorption that we have nowadays in 2017. So this is a 6x impact. Then we look at relationships, how much time we spend having authentic relationships. And that is a huge insight. Because in the corporate life, most likely, if we are like these many thousands participants, we actually spend 77% of our time playing a role. And it's normal because we're given a role by the company. and we make this road ours, and we can drive the road instead of playing it. So that's a 4x factor. And purpose. How much time do we spend in the purposeful living zone? So purposeful living zone is something I'll explain later. But basically it's another 2x. So if you multiply all these factors, did anyone do the computation? If you do 2x and 2x and 6x and 4x, I mean, it's a 236x. So okay, I'm not going to convince you guys that we can be 236 times more effective as leaders. But if not 236 times, maybe 10 times. Maybe 10 times, and we could all agree on 10 or 15 or 20 times. If you take money as a metric, it's not a great metric, but let's take money as a metric of professional success and effectiveness. People coming from the same university definitely get a 10x spread and maybe more in terms of their earnings at the end of their career. So this is actually what is at stake. It's not that, oh, we can improve our performance by some person. It's a multi-X transformation, which we are looking at. So now how do we use this? How do we use this very, very concretely? Number one, scale. So I told you in the intro, scale is what all of this is designed for. So here you've got an organization which has been running self-coaching since 2014. So their numbers, their 2014 and 2017 numbers are not even there. But it's basically 2,500 leaders on this screen, and if I add up these other 2 years, it's 4,500 leaders. And compare this to the largest one-on-one coaching program ever designed on this planet. And that was 500 executives. We're already at 9x, the largest, 9x the scale of the largest ever designed one-on-one coaching program. Let's look at another way we leverage this data. We leverage this data for personal insights. So if I'm doing self-coaching, I'm going to need a lot of support. I'm going to need a step-by-step process. I'm going to need support from my colleagues, and I'm going to need a lot of data. So this is the opportunity for me to come back to purposeful living zone. So if you look at the question of how committed you are to a certain activity. So commitment could be something you don't really love doing, but out of doing your work dutifully, you will do it day in, day out. For instance, for some leaders, doing very, very proper in-person reviews with their N-1s is something they will do whatever happens. Even if they have to work on a weekend, they will do these one-on-one sessions at the end of the year, these one-on-one evaluations. It might not be something they dream of. Maybe they're dreaming of innovation, right? So if you are doing activities which at the same time elicit the dreamer and also the dutiful leader that you are, this is when you are in your purposeful zone. So if you look at the right-hand side, this is the story of CEO of a sports event management company in the UK. Let's call him Andrew. So Andrew's dream is to change the sports industry through events. But what he was doing initially was not too much of that. He was basically implementing the growth roadmap, doing more events, doing bigger events, and doing more marketing revenues per event. And then he saw this data, and he said, wow, so I'm actually spending 2/3 or 3/4 of my time not leveraging my full potential. And he thought about it, and he started working on how next year he's going to organize really, really different events, and how he's going to start transforming his business in order to transform the industry. And the result you get is this green zone which expands 3 months later. And by the way, he hasn't changed anything on the home front. He probably has kept his priorities the same. And that's the bottom of the screen, and that might be his next area of focus. The third thing you can do with all of this data is you can give this on a silver tray to your CEO and executive team and CHRO, and you can look at the impact, you can look at ROI, and you can do it team by team, you can do it cohort by cohort. If you want, you could even do it individual by individual. And you get to see a mapping. You get to see a mapping of which energy zones, maybe authenticity is very high in your sales team, and it's also progressed a lot. And maybe authenticity is much lower in your R&D team. It's not a very safe environment in terms of expressing your ideas. And you get to see the progression. That's another game-changing aspect of getting all this data. And the last thing you can do with all of this is you can do program governance. So the first quadrant on the top left is basically at a client we worked with, we noticed that there was a score which used to be 64, and it never changed, it was always 64. It's a store manager engagement score. And we found two groups of people. The ones who had done it in 2014 had moved to 66, and the ones who had done it in 2015 moved to 68. And then moving to quadrant 2, we started looking at the causes for this. And we find that the participants who were more active, who were more regular in doing their online modules, were getting higher impact. Then we started looking at something else. And in the third quadrant, we looked at the teams which were having discussions with their managers every week on this leadership program. And for these ones, it was not 68 versus 66, it was 76 versus 66. And then we looked at the fact that you will always get people who don't engage so much on the program. And it might be because they have other needs. They don't have the energy right now to undertake a very thorough transformation journey. So we looked at what has impacted them. And for them it was managing anxiety and boredom. And maybe these people were at the bottom of the leadership needs pyramid, and they first needed to deal with their anxiety and boredom before moving into brighter side of what they can do, looking into the future. So we partner with the Mind Brain Behavior Hive from the University of Toronto, and we basically look at how different devices can create physiological measurement, which can give you live feedback on your leadership attitudes. We don't exactly know what we will turn this into, but basically you can work with things like Google Glasses, you can work with things like respiratory monitor, you can work with things like thermometer, and you can use a Fitbit type of a device to do all of this, and also to track your heart rate variability. And you get insights on how authentic you are, you get insights on how positive you are being, how stressed you are becoming. And you could decide to have a report at the end of the day or at the end of the week, but you could even decide to have a device like Google Glass that tells you instantaneously, this is a moment when you're not being very authentic, or your stress level is rising. Or in my particular case, the session is over. So I'm very sorry that we exhausted the time without having the opportunity to go through questions and answers, but I'm very happy to meet anyone who has questions in the break area. Thank you.